Weather-related outages. Number 5, a solar power generator provides powerful backup insurance and peace of mind. Folks, I really believe in the solar power generators offered by Solutions from Science, one of my oldest sponsors. You can get more information at www.mysolarbackup.com. That's mysolarbackup.com. Remember, the government doesn't own the sun, so go to mysolarbackup.com or call 1-877-327-0365.
Well, I won't back down.
You know, in my film, Fall the Republic,
back down.
One of the many things we break down is that President Obama has brazenly violated Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution by seating himself at the head of the UN Security Council, thus becoming the first U.S. president to chair the world body. And I remember we watched it live when it happened, when he took the month-long rotation on it. There at the UN, Kissinger was there in rapture, all these other globalists. They went on TV after and said this is a great day for the New World Order, a great day for globalism, that a president has now been in a dual capacity for a foreign quasi-government power. And they said 3 weeks ago, this is a great day with the UN resolution. Now 3 weeks and a day ago, and within 36 hours, Obama had taken UN orders and launched an attack without even consulting Congress. I mean, before it was a declaration of war, then it was the authorization of force, which is a token and unconstitutional, impeachable from my research. Now it's just, who needs a stinking Congress when you can have an emperor who takes orders from the UN itself? Now, Bruce Fein, if I go over his bio, it would take hours, but he's a lawyer specializing in constitutional international law, graduated from Harvard in '72. Bruce Fein served as Associate Deputy Attorney General from '81 to '82 as the General Counsel to the Federal Communications Commission under President Ronald Reagan. Fein was also top Justice Department official under Reagan administration. Fein has written numerous articles for the Washington Times, Slate, the New York Times. He's also worked for the American Enterprise Institute, Heritage Foundation, analyst, commentator, American Empire Before the Fall, published by Campaign for Liberty, June of last year. Other books, Constitutional Peril, The Life and Death Struggle of Our Constitutional Republic. Ron Paul, Constitution and Democracy. Ron Paul is among the most notable consistent proponents of Mr. Fein's political commentary. He is quoted on the cover of Constitutional Peril saying, Bruce Fein is one of the most important legal minds of our time. Constitutional Peril is a must-read for American lovers of liberty. So when he talks, we need to listen. And, of course, Politico and countless other publications have gone with his report. GOP lawyer drafts Obama impeachment, and he's been circulating it in the halls of Congress this week. Hope he's got his life insurance up. He has a lot of courage. Certainly there's a lot of reasons to impeach him, but a lot of Republican leadership is involved in the treacherous constitutional malfeasance as well. That's why they went after Clinton for a sexual escapade, because that was limited to just that event. They don't want to get into missile secrets to the Chinese or things like that, because Republicans were involved as well. But Bruce is really going after him on this, and we'll talk about the reasons he's moving for impeachment as a top legal mind. And then I've got a few other questions about other areas that I see that are impeachable. But Mr. Fein, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, you've got the floor. Tell us about your impeachment move, what it breaks down, where folks can read the text of it, and where we go from here.
Well, they can read the text of it. It's printed now on Politico website and some other websites, but that's the easiest way to find it. It's got over 8,000 hits already in just about a day. But let me go back to the founding. You know, what we're going to do to honor the Republic. I'm speaking a little bit like James Otis and Sam Adams at the 1765 Stamp Act protest that said Americans were not going to reduce themselves to vassalage to King George III, that we the people are sovereign and that we're going to chart our own destiny. We're not going to have one individual or group of individuals tell us what's good for us, what's in the national interest, and flout the rule of law. And that's basically the precipice we're standing on today. It's not 1765 in the Stamp Act. It is Barack Obama stating that he can utilize our military offensively anytime he believes, in his viewpoint, it advances the national interest, whatever he thinks that is. In Libya, he says it's a humanitarian interest. All I can say is if that level of oppression justifies war unilaterally, we've got about 80 countries standing right behind Libya. start thinking about Zimbabwe, China, Chechnya, Burma, you name it.
Mexico.
We'll be at war forever. And we'll be spending ourselves into further bankruptcy, which we can't afford. It'll mean secrecy. It'll mean suspending habeas corpus. We'll be put in detentions without trials, military commissions instead of civilian commissions. We'll have the greatest amount of invasion of privacy in the history of the United States. The Transportation Security Administration, they'll be looking up every single crevice we've got at the president's decree. Anyway, the fundamental rule of law is at stake here, and the reason is the Founding Fathers were as explicit as they were in any other provision of the Constitution in writing in the Declaration of War Clause, which is assigned exclusively to Congress. Over and over again, at the Constitutional Convention, the ratification debates, the Federalist Papers explaining the Constitution, only Congress can authorize offensive use of warfare, because the entire history of mankind, the entire history of Europe, known to the Founding Fathers, was a history of executives running off and undertaking needless wars to aggrandize themselves.
Julius Caesar.
Politically. This is Caesar crossing the Rubicon and marching on Rome. That is exactly right. So we have as great a clarity in the meaning of the War Clause as we do in freedom of speech, in the requirement that Congress tax and Congress spend. The president can't do that unilaterally. And yet, despite that clarity, the president has gone on and said not only Libya, any other place that I think is the national interest, I will use war. Moreover, it was quite alarming yesterday. His Office of Legal Counsel in the Department of Justice issued a paper that purported to justify constitutionally what he had done. And the paper says that the president has power to go to war offensively, unilaterally, to, quote, support the United Nations Security Council's credibility and effectiveness. Right? Not the Constitution of the United Nations Security Council. Now, the Supreme Court has held for over 50 years a treaty. A treaty cannot supersede constitutional requirements and stipulations, like only war can be authorized by Congress. So it doesn't matter what the UN Security Council says. The president can't do anything with regard to war or regard to taxes or regard to spending unless Congress has authorized it. So we basically have looming on the horizon an emperor, exactly as you said, unlimited power. So whatever freedoms and liberties we enjoy, they are at the sufferance of the president. He can revoke them at any time he wishes. He'd have me go to the UN Security Council, well, get a resolution that says we have to suppress free speech in all countries of the world because it's dangerous to incumbents. Anything like that. Now, of course, these hypotheticals seem a little bit strained now because our political culture wouldn't tolerate that. But the precedent, nevertheless, will lie around like a loaded weapon. It's not going to go away in 1 day or 2 weeks or whatever. Maybe Obama won't quite be so brazen in utilizing the absolute power this way, but what about a successor? What about our own Caligula rather than the Roman Caligula? They're going to come at some
But they're already, sir, you're absolutely on target here as a top constitutional law scholar. They know what they're doing, but I saw that yesterday at whitehouse.gov, reading that paper where they say the credibility of the UN, not the Constitution, not the law, not the war powers, the UN, but that's double-sided. This then is a direct assault on the power of Congress and hence the power of the American people and our system of checks and balances. So to making the UN credible, that then, if this precedent is allowed to be set through this new international model of governance, then practice, they believe, via the international common law will bring it in, setting the precedent that now the Congress is basically ceremonial.
That's right. It's an adornment, if you will. It's an adornment. It's ornamentation on the wall, but otherwise, president doesn't think he can get it through Congress. Okay, just go to the UN Security Council, trade off his veto, where he bargains with China and Russia and all these other great countries.
That means China and Russia and others have more authority than our Congress.
And remember this, even in regards to Libya, Obama consulted more with the Arab League than he did with our U.S. Congress. Now, has the Arab League ever paid a single tax to the United States, ever done anything for us? And he consults with the Arab League. That shows you how zany and dangerous this is. It's the end of constitutional government as a matter of principle. Unbelievable.
Bruce Fein, I should ask you, is there a website that's the best place to read your writings and find out about your books?
Well, they can't Campaign for Liberty has a lot of them on there, but it's probably the easiest because I'm in the middle of building a new website now. So if you just Google Bruce Fein, F-E-I-N, you'd get thousands of things, and that has a pretty good collection.
All right, you've laid out the clear-cut, 100% case. They know under international administrative law, they're just practicing this. Possession is 9/10 of the law. They are trampling the republic. This, I said this 3 weeks ago, this is Julius Caesar crossing the Rubicon. I use the exact same analogy because that's what's happening. We see the French under UN pouring into the Ivory Coast, backing rebels, slaughtering innocents with machetes. I mean, clearly the global empire is setting the precedent where they finance rebels who rebel. Then this global empire invades. Its vassals supply Hessian mercs, as Obama has supplied us. What response are you getting in Congress as you walk the halls? Because Republicans might try to impeach him over health care or something, but a lot of these Republicans, they like war. They you know, the military-industrial complex loves to fill their coffers.
Well, I think there's a concern, and I would say it's more visceral than cerebral about what the president has done. And you're right, but there are a fair number of freshmen who haven't quite got, intellectually corrupted by those who have been in town so long that they see power in Congress or the executive branch always good because they can become lobbyists afterward and make huge sums, helping their clients navigate their way through big government. But there's certainly a receptivity. There's a recognition. Yeah, it's wrong, but really, what should we do about it? And it's not all that different from Watergate, where I was around. That is, it took a while for the public's support and opposition to the idea if the president does it, it's automatically legal, to push Congress to have Watergate hearings and ultimately the impeachment hearings leading to Nixon's resignation. And that's what's going to happen in this case. The members get it, but unless the populace writes in, email says, we've got to get rid of these guys, we need to have impeachment hearings, make them come up and explain on television before the entire public. Yeah, we can go to war to support the credibility of the UN Security Council, but not the United Nations, not the United States Constitution. Make them do that, but that's only going to come if the population, the voters, get aroused. We cannot expect honor to be prevailing in the Congress, principled adherence to the Constitution. Fear is what will move them, and fear of not getting elected and being criticized by their voters, that's what will get them to move on.
Mr. Fein, constitutional lawyer, circulating articles of impeachment in the U.S. Congress, hopefully getting some traction on this, because this is the gauntlet being thrown down. Do you agree with me, or with your legal gravitas, correct me if I'm wrong, but Article 1, Section 9, dealing with the president swearing foreign oaths, serving foreign powers, foreign groups, clearly that is a big impeachable offense. If not, then he could go be, vice president or premier, prime minister of Russia or Bangladesh, for that matter. And they were shaking with pleasure when Obama became the head of the Security Council on that 1-month rotation. Never before had been done. Is that not an impeachable offense as well?
Well, it comes close, because what you're pointing out is the worry that the Founding Fathers had about divided loyalties. They had seen that problem chronic in European countries, where people would be bribed and be serving two masters at the same time. And that's what that prohibition was about. You've got to be loyal only to the United States. They had Benedict Arnold. They had their traitors, and they had great loyalists like Nathan Hale as well. And it is very problematic. Anytime anyone who's serving in the United States government, especially the president, has any official tie to any institution that is somehow unanchored to the United States Constitution. And what you pointed out is there's only one oath that the president takes. It's to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, period. He has no loyalty to anything else. And that's right in Article 2. And then when he starts to assume offices or authorities that suggest that he's loyal to a treaty or to some other institution, the United Nations or anything else, that is a very, very, very serious problem.
And they know what they're doing. I mean, that was a test, a trial balloon. Now he has violated his oath brazenly. And I think you're right. This is the issue to go after him on, because it's so naked. Can you just briefly, when you get 5-10 minutes with a congressman, spending days down there trying to educate them, or when you go to lunch with a group of congressmen and women, if you're talking, to a congressman right now, and some of them do listen to this show, we've had them on as guests, and they've told us, if congressmen are listening right now, or if state legislatures are listening, they can put pressure. Citizens can put pressure on Congress people. If you had 2 minutes to address Congress right now, what would you say?
I would say your war power is every bit as much enshrined in the text of the Constitution exclusively as your power